Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. The guy right next to me, he is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we've got to dive into something that we spoke about on my channel last night. These pesky Democratic lieutenant governors partnering up with gun control groups, throw in some teachers' unions for fun, all underneath an executive Office of Gun Violence Prevention brought in from the White House with Kamala Harris, and you have one heck of a time, and that is what we're going to talk about today. So, Tim, I know you're ready. I know you're ready, because anytime we have Office of Gun Violence Prevention taking its first big, bold steps out into the world with this level of clout, it's going to be good. You know it's going to be good.
Yeah. They all got together and sat around and sang Kumbaya and blamed inanimate objects for the world's problems. And, soon they're going to get these inanimate objects reined in. They're going to get control of them.
Eventually, the IOVs will meet the bane of their existence.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm with you.
They're going to keep plugging away until they solve the world's problems by banning inanimate objects.
Yeah.
They'll worry about the criminals later.
No. Yes. Of course, because Steve Dettelbach told us that yesterday's episode.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. He laid it out nicely. Well, you know what, Tim? Let's set the record straight. Because here on The Second Legacy, we're all about showing what the White House is trying to convey their messaging, and then we're going to show you what's really going on. So with that, let me show you the high and lofty and lovely, beautiful language, Tim, and then we'll dive into what they really said there, which was not so beautiful, flowery, and high. Mr. Producer, could you throw number 1 up for me? Readout of White House meeting with lieutenant governors on preventing gun violence. So right out the gate, I don't have happy feelings about that, but let me show you what they're talking about. So number 3, please. Gun violence is a pervasive crisis in the United States, and states are at the forefront of efforts to stem gun violence in their communities. The meeting reaffirms the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to reduce gun violence. And after all, Tim, it's not that serious. Here's all they talked about. Number 4. In the meeting, White House officials and lieutenant governors discussed ways the lieutenant governors can be partnered with to help enact policies to prevent gun violence in their communities and what resources are available at the federal level to address gun crimes and violent crimes generally. Additionally, the meeting served as a way to strengthen federal and state partnerships on gun violence. Now, Tim, there's nothing nefarious. Did you feel how happy that was? That was amazing.
Gosh, those darn violent guns. Maybe they ought to set them down at the factory before they go out into the world and give them a speech of morality. And maybe we can nip this gun violence problem in the bud. It's through education. We need to educate these inanimate objects on how to behave in a civilized society. And caution them about finding their ways into the hands of criminals. It's up to the inanimate object to keep itself out of the hands of criminals. I mean, that's what we really have to address here. And what's interesting is they want to stem gun violence. Okay, well, if you take a look at what just happened in Ohio, for example, where they now have permitless carry. Well, they're stemming gun violence. It's down 7.5% from the previous year.
Exactly.
But you won't hear this solution proposed.
Nope.
Because it flies in the face of their agenda. The truth
almost
never...
like it's narrative. Almost like it's narrative and control. In fact, another point to Tim's astute point. Indiana, Tim, you know something about Indiana.
I do.
They had the exact same reduction in homicide rate the same year that they instilled constitutional carry. In fact, it was one of the largest declines year over year across all the different states. Isn't that weird?
It is, because, violent inanimate objects fear armed people.
Yeah.
And criminals do too. But it's
Tim,
it's amazing how that works. And they're going to claim victory here because nationally, violence has gone down across the country for years. It's been trending downward for a long time.
Absolutely.
Now, they want to tell you that we're all in imminent, danger of being gunned down by a rogue AR-15 jumping out from behind a bush and getting you. But the reality is that violence is trending downward. They're doing nothing, but they'll claim victory. They'll say, well, look what we've done.
Correct.
But
that's it, dude. You nailed it. It's all about perception and modifying perception. That is exactly what this is. I mean, you could even look at Judge Benitez's most recent opinion on the AR bans being ruled unconstitutional. I mean, the math he laid out in that, it was like 0.0000194 were used in crimes, and the 99.9999987 were not. It was mind-boggling. But going back to something else that we covered yesterday with Steve Dettelbach, he even said that felons were the ones that were getting the guns when they shouldn't have them. He was saying they were being aggressive and innovative in breaking the law. And then at the same time, he also said, but you can't arrest your way out of this problem. Well, your gun control world's falling all kinds of down. But if you guys are wondering, Braden, Tim, no, they wouldn't do this. What lieutenant governors would possibly dare be here for this? Number 5, Mr. Producer. Participating lieutenant governors. We got some Pennsylvania, little Minnesota, some Michigan, Rhode Island, Maryland, Oregon, Wisconsin, and Vermont. So those are pretty blue states, Tim, with the exception of Wisconsin and Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which are kind of purple, different degrees of purple.
Right.
But this is really, on the lieutenant governor side, they wanted to talk to some people in the gun control states. That's what they wanted to do on this. But that's not the problem to me. I don't know. I think it's a problem with the teachers' unions. That's my thing.
Oh, the teachers' unions. I mean, they should be there too.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, Tim. They were.
Because, were they? Well, lucky for us, good old teachers' unions.
They were.
Getting involved in politics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of teaching our children, they're out there involved in politics.
Absolutely. But check this out, because, Tim, it's for the good of the children. It's for the good of the children. Listen to who is in attendance.
The ones they don't abort.
Right. Exactly. Nailed it. So listen to who was attendance, because what I just read to you prior to this, Tim, was the White House's report and release of the notes of what occurred at this meeting. Now let me show you what another journalist wrote who was actually there as well. Check this out. These are the people in attendance, because this was oddly left out. This is number 6, Mr. Producer. 6 lieutenant governors from across the country joined gun violence prevention advocates Tuesday to share their stories and offer solutions at a policy discussion event, which the 6 lieutenant governors, that's true. But this part, the Democratic Lieutenant Governors Association hosted the Gun Violence Prevention Policy Summit, which was the first event of its kind. The DLGA partnered with, here we go, gun violence prevention advocacy groups Everytown for Gun Safety, March for Our Lives, Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, as well as the labor union American Federation of Teachers for the event. Now, Tim, when you have that level of ingredient, what kind of delicious cookie are you going to get?
Yeah. I mean, boy, that surely is an unbiased think group there, isn't it?
Exactly.
It just doesn't seem lopsided whatsoever. No. Where's the group that's interested in preserving the rights of American citizens? They're shockingly absent from this discussion. Not that they didn't want to be part of it, but I mean, this is just a bunch of little Marxists sitting around, rubbing their hands together, thinking about how they can conquer the American people and subjugate us and have a good time. Probably had, a nice little lunch there at the taxpayers' expense. I'm sure it was, caviar and all that champagne to go around for all. I don't know that, but it's
that's a conjecture. That is alleged. Yes. That is alleged consumption.
Alleged.
Yes. Yeah. No. It's a good mix. It's a good mix of the who's who to be a fly on the wall in that room. You know what? I'm actually kind of offended we didn't get an invite, Tim. I think we could have balanced out that discussion. It would have been.
Well, they wouldn't want us there because the sarcasm would be oozing, and they're averse to sarcasm, I think, or something. I don't know.
Or something.
What they're averse to is an opposing point of view is what they're averse to.
Anything fun, freedom.
You show up and you say something they don't like, you wind up under a prison somewhere.
It's true. That is true. But the thing that really got me on this, though, like, okay, you got a gun violence prevention office. It's run by the White House. It's run by Kamala Harris. You're gun controllers. You got all these gun control groups. That makes sense. But the American Federation of Teachers? Isn't that odd? Well, it would be real odd if we didn't tell you all the things that they discussed, Tim, because just wait.
Wait. There's one missing. I just thought of this. I'm like, who's missing from this little gathering of kooks? The CDC.
Oh.
Where's the CDC?
That's true. They're still resting
because this is an epidemic, right?
That's true.
It's an epidemic that's going away on its own, but they have to intervene.
Yeah, because it is an epidemic. It's true. But I think actually, now that you've mentioned it, it makes sense that the CDC wasn't there because they are moving away from the epidemic of gun violence language narrative. They're kind of going back to the gun crisis. They're slowly moving that way. So maybe they wanted to focus on the future and the children. That's why teachers are there. Maybe that's
focusing on the future.
Exactly.
The future of freedom.
Future. Exactly.
Because you got to love a taxpayer-funded think group that sole purpose in life is to think of new and creative ways to strip you of your rights. Constitutionally protected rights.
I opt not to love it. So There you go. I've made my decision. The people of the second legacy. You guys can make your own as well. Well, Tim, so like I said, this is all puppy dogs and rainbows. After all, it was all about common sense solutions and just having a great discussion. Except here's what they talked about in these panelists. Number 7, Mr. Producer. The first panel focused on justice for victims of gun violence and holding the firearms industry accountable for its role in perpetuating gun violence. Wow. While the second panel highlighted ways to help the youth feel safe in their communities, including at school. And the third panel concluded the event by focusing on disarming hate. Well, wow. But then they went further and they said they discussed policy solutions at a local, state, and federal level, which some called for federal actions such as tightening of background checks and a national ban on assault weapons. That's a little different than what the White House verbiage was, wasn't it, Tim?
Boy, that's just, you have to chuckle when you read what they were talking about. And, you know, it's interesting that they want to focus on justice for victims of gun violence. You know how you can give justice to a victim of violence? How about arresting the person that did
Empower
it?
them?
You know, it's like, well, let's hold the gun manufacturers responsible. Well, you know what? I had a friend killed in a car accident, and my justice is making sure Chevy is sued into oblivion for making a car that they were drunk and driving.
Yep.
You know, it's like you cannot hold the manufacturers of products, legal products, accountable for the actions of criminals.
Correct.
If you do that and apply it across the board to all areas of commerce in the United States, you effectively put everybody out of business. And it just, but this is their goal.
Correct.
And they want to peel off firearms and make them a special group. So we're going to treat the two-way community and guns in general and the manufacturing and all that stuff completely differently than we're going to treat the rest of the manufacturing businesses in America. Everything from cars, airplanes, helicopters, swing pool staircases, ballpoint pens and knives, hammers, hands and fists.
Slinkies. Don't you read out slinkies. Those are dangerous because everybody loves a slinky. Let's just
everybody loves a slinky. Yeah,
everybody does. But you know the thing that really got me in that whole little tirade of gross, the part where they said the firearms industry is accountable for its role in perpetuating gun violence. Prove it. Bring the receipts.
But see, they consider, and we'll see this in some of the other things that have been said. But they consider self-defense to be gun violence.
Correct. 100%. And suicide to be gun violence.
If you defend yourself, well, they don't want you having stand your ground. They don't want castle doctrine. They don't want any of that.
It's amazing.
Because you are not to defend yourself. And they'll go one step further in places like New York. They'll take away your right to defend yourself passively by taking away body armor.
So, Tim.
I mean, seriously. And then the irony of that, you see Holcomb out there in Israel running around wearing what? Body armor. Yeah, the same thing that she doesn't want New Yorkers to have. Whatever.
It's so weird.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Tim has reached the whatever point. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, these people are so asinine and so ridiculous. It's so in your face, the stupidity, the morbid stupidity of these people. And then you still have a certain segment of our population that will read this and go, yay, go team. It's like, they have such punchable faces. It's, these people drive me nuts. Allegedly. I know, it's just, and you can spot them a mile away. You can see them all the way down the street. Because the stupid just radiates from them. You feel sorry for them until they open their mouth and try to take your rights away. And then you're like, you know what?
Well, you know, it'd be like that sometimes. But, you know, Tim,
we're not advocating for violence. That was me just joking around.
No. And that's why we said allegedly.
Punch people in the face. Yeah.
No, that's why we said allegedly. Because we said the allegedly cover all. So we're good. So, you know, one of my favorite things about doing these segments with you, Tim.
Yeah, you never know what I'm going to say.
Well, no, that's definitely fun too. But
the Gen X perspective,
yeah. But the other thing that I really love about this is sometimes in your responses to leading up into a point, you kind of jump in front without knowing it's coming because it's such a natural option of where they're going to go next, and you call it perfectly. For example, number 9.
I haven't read these, by the way. Yeah,
no, he has not read these yet. Henley and Short, who were people on the panel, said that stand your ground laws need to be repealed. These laws often allow people to shoot or kill someone when they feel threatened, but this is often difficult to prove. You are a sage. It's like
I'm telling you, man.
People.
But they're so predictable. I mean, once you get into the head of stupid and you start to I mean, seriously, I think we joked about this before. I mean, you have to dumb yourself down to such a point that you really risk your own mental well-being by trying to think how these morons think.
Right.
But I've been exposed to these morons for so long, I can literally predict their next steps.
All right. So now comes Hold on, tiny disclaimer. I'm sorry, tiny disclaimer. He's not talking about he's not talking about Democrats. He's talking about the high-level executive bureaucratic gun controllers. That's what he's talking about. Please continue.
Oh, yeah. Like the clowns in this meeting. Yeah.
Yes. There you go.
Anyway, go ahead.
Sorry, I killed it.
Where's that rant switch? I got to flip that off over here. It's on this colored remote somewhere. I'm just trying to figure out.
I just got to find the button. Well, Grandpa, while you're trying to find the button on the dial, I'm going to read the next piece. So this is still number 9. This last piece I really wanted to dive into because I thought this was extremely concerning. Quote, "The last piece is to have a reporting mechanism," Henley said. "So really understanding how it's working so that if you need to do adjustments, you need to learn from it and all those things existing together." And so what this brought a big memory for me. You remember how we covered Jerry Nadler about 3 weeks ago, literally piecemealing out everything of the gun control monster? Like, here's an arm, here's a leg, here's a piece, here's a head. And you just got to kind of like plug it together like Frankenstein. That's what they're talking about right here. They've built this entire shadow government gun control piece of monstrosity, kind of like the mountain in Game of Thrones or Frankenstein, if you want to go, classical. But they've got this entire thing laid out on a table, and they know the pieces they want to put in place, and they're innocuous until you plug them all together and you apply electricity. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, legitimately, I'm going to make, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make a slab of Frankenstein. I'm just going to label all the things that they want, and I'm just going to, maybe that'll land. Maybe that will land the plane, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what they're doing.
It is. And it's still what really gets me, what just grinds my gears in all this is that my tax dollars are going to fund this nonsense. That's like, why don't they just start some sort of a group that's government funded by taxpayer income or revenue, and they all they do is to exist to get rid of the First, the Fourth, the Fifth Amendments.
All of them.
Let's go after all of them. Let's just. But the fact that you have a government entity that exists just to find ways to strip you of your rights is mind-boggling to me. The plug should be pulled on this by Congress. They should figure out, because they have the power of the purse. Congress needs to look at this, and why they're not talking about it, I don't know. And they need to pull the plug on this thing and defund it immediately. And any government agency that exists solely to strip you of your rights
there are
should
actually
have its funding
bills that have been introduced in Congress to remove this from being a thing.
Good. Well, good.
They are there.
You mean they're doing their jobs? Oh, no. Okay.
No, hold on.
It's going to be raining cats and dogs.
Hold on, time out.
Okay.
They don't get credit for doing their jobs because only like 7 people signed on to it as co-sponsors. That's why you haven't heard anything about it, because it's not going anywhere.
How you get more co-sponsors is call your representatives, folks.
No, that's true.
We need to talk about these bills and let people know about them, because
I've got them on deck. I can find them for you. I know where they are.
We need to put that up there, because we need people calling their representatives and telling them, hey, support this. This is insane. We cannot be funding with our tax dollars these groups that exist solely to strip us of our rights. We definitely need to do that.
We will absolutely do that. So stay tuned, people. The Second Legacy. But
Tim, will bring it up again.
Oh, we will. I've got one more big old hodgepodge. I'm just going to read you a few of the great things that were discussed, again, with teachers' unions, lieutenant governors, so second in command of states, with the executive branch in the federal government under the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, under the VP. Okay? So nothing to be concerned about here. And teachers' unions, if I didn't say that 500 times. So I'm just going to read you a few of the greatest hits. This is some of the stuff that was discussed. So Gilchrist, who's one of the people who highlighted his state's recent passage of background checks and storage laws, said there absolutely needs to be accountability for those who make, manufacture, market, and distribute firearms. Oh, really? Okay.
How about accountability for the people that misuse them?
No, Tim.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What am I thinking? Boy, that's topsy-turvy. That's right out of that's like a bad movie plot. I'm sorry.
Stay on narrative, sir.
Yes, all right. I'm sorry.
But yes, we are in the midst of gun control 101 right now. So someone else on the same panel, they said irresponsible marketing and advertising of specific gun companies have promoted white supremacist and extremist logos. Now, that one I had some fun with, because if you can actually point to an extremist logo on any gun manufacturer, I'll give you a cookie.
Well, or find just gun controllers. Please post an image or a link to an image in the comments down below of any gun manufacturer marketing that is catering to white supremacists.
Yes. Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist at all.
This is something that they always do. They tie something that is vile to their cause. So we want to ban guns. Therefore, we're going to say, well, only people that are white supremacists and people that manufacture guns are white supremacists. And we have to stop the spread of guns because that's how we're going to stop these white supremacists.
Exactly.
And their manufacturing partners in the gun industry. And there's no truth to it whatsoever.
Not at
They're
all.
just trying. The guns aren't enough alone anymore to get that visceral response from people sitting on the fence.
Correct.
Now they have to tie it to something else like white supremacy.
Yes.
And then when that doesn't work, they get tied to a third ideology that is completely fictitious as well. And they'll just keep going down that line until they shift once again and go off in a different direction.
Well done. That is, you just highlighted the exact operating procedure for the left on things of gun control. You just nailed it. And the way you said it was so good. There's not enough of a visceral reaction on guns anymore because they're watering their own message down. So they're upping the ante and tying it to things that are even more emotional. 100%. That's probably one of the best things that you've ever said. Tip of the cap to you.
Well,
sir.
We can quit now. Thanks for watching Second Legacy, folks. We'll talk to you later. No, just kidding. Don't tune out yet.
Don't go yet. We got one more thing for you. That was a premature outro. He's known for that. Anyway, it's okay.
Take that as a victory, and we're out.
Right. We're out. We're done.
I can't top the last one, so we're done.
No, you can.
It was a fun
you can.
Yeah.
No, you can. I think you got it in you. I think you got it in you on this one. So listen to this. This is something else they said. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Skaggs said that because governments are significant consumers in the firearm industry, governments should look at their suppliers. Those suppliers may then, in turn, hold themselves to higher standards. She's openly...
This cuts both ways. Yes, cut your own throats, government.
Right.
But hey, go for it, man. You know, when your enemy's doing stuff to take themselves out of the fight, let them do it. You know.
Yeah.
But
significant
it's mind-boggling to me how these people think, and this knife cuts both ways. I urge manufacturers to stop selling to government agencies.
Oh,
Sig, you listening?
That would be unpatriotic. That would be terrible.
All of you guys. You know what? Because in the grand scheme of things, everybody wants a government contract, not because they make money from them. The government nickels and dimes them to death and just beats them up. They recoup that money by selling the same wares or similar wares to the commercial market. That's where they recoup their money, because you'll pay an exorbitant amount of money, a $4,000 SIG spear. I guarantee the government pays nowhere near $4,000 for a SIG spear.
Well,
so they're not making their money there. So, you know, but they want that prestige because it helps them sell products elsewhere. And that's why they chase those government contracts.
But
if all the gun manufacturers, if all the gun manufacturers said, you know what? No, not doing it. Sorry, folks. And there's been a lot of gun manufacturers, gun retailers and stuff like that have cut off states that ban certain items. You know, I know at Copper that we've had, you know, officers call from states that have bans wanting to buy things, and they'd say, well, I have a letter. I'm exempt from magazine law because I'm law enforcement. Like, sorry, they're banned in your state. You included, we're not selling them. And a lot of manufacturers do that. And a lot of retailers do that, but not enough, apparently. If they want to go after manufacturers and say, we're not going to buy your stuff anymore. Okay.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's like that. Well, and that's the funniest part to me is, like, if you look at all of the things that they're talking about here, again, teachers unions, if you're looking at all the things that they're discussing, they are so hungry to find any type of way to assail the gun industry that they would be willing to disarm their own police. They are willing to disarm their own armies. They are willing to disarm their own special forces. That's literally what that says. They are so thirsty for any type of attack or assailing of the entire industry that they're willing to go that far. They are cutting the nose off of their own face because they don't like it.
Yeah, but that's typical. That's typical of these folks. They're not known for their ability for rational thought. They're certainly not chess players. They can't see how this action that they conduct today, 5 moves down the board, will affect the outcomes there. They don't think about that. All they can think about right now is they have this very narrow focus. We must ban guns and punish those who own them.
Yeah,
it's craziness.
So how'd that feel, Tim? How's it make you feel, Lieutenant Governors, VP, gun owners, Office of Gun Violence Prevention, gun groups?
We got to come up with a slick nickname for those folks. Hey, comment down below. What would be a funny nickname for the Office of Gun Violence Prevention or whatever they call it?
Dante's seventh circle of hell.
Let's call it something. We got to come up with something a little easier to repeat and a little funny, because you got to have a little levity in all of this. Otherwise, you go nuts.
I thought that was pretty good. Oh, well. Give us the real outro after your early outro earlier.
Okay, fine. All right. So this is the real one, folks. Comment down below. We like to hear what your input might be for suggesting a new nickname for the Office of Gun Violence Prevention or whatever it is. And we look forward to reading those comments. Thank you for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you folks soon.